That this is a very different process that we go through with the titanium and integrated jury. On our other juries, we balance the juries based upon a number of factors, including networks, holding companies, agency balances, and country balances. So we ensure that there's a really broad spread of those kind of people across the juries. This is a very different jury. This jury is based solely upon the individuals. So it's chosen by the festival based upon the quality and output and work and stature of the individuals. So we don't look at the countries, we don't look at the holding companies they work for, the agencies, networks they work for. We just look at their track record. And we handpick them, and that makes this a very, very special jury to judge a very, very special category. So, with no further ado, I'm going to pass over to Rob, President of the jury.
Hey everybody, how's it going? Hello, yeah, everybody's so serious. Have some fun, it's Saturday, everybody hungover? No one on this jury is hungover at all. So, thanks for joining us. You know, I believe the press plays a pretty important role in Cannes, and it's the only show where, you know, when you artfully and accurately tell the story of Cannes for those who can't be here, it's really important. So thank you and kudos to all of you for being here. It's so hard. First off, I think in both categories, titanium and integrated, you know, the top prizes are winners amongst winners. I think that the jury as a whole was completely blown away by the level of quality work this year from around the world, especially in what we're calling titanium, which is always an interesting, you know, category as we start to define it year after year. But I think the most impressive part is where the entries came from. I don't think 5 or 10 years ago we could have fathomed that so many countries would be doing so much great work. I'm going to read off the countries, some of the countries that have entered titanium and integrated this year. Colombia, India, Puerto Rico, Mexico, Tunisia, Israel, Malaysia, Czech Republic, Lebanon, South Korea, Finland, Ecuador, Turkey, Poland, Latvia, Thailand, Serbia, and the Philippines. There's more. It is incredible. And while some of these entries have gotten on the short list, and even some have won some prizes possibly, I think the most important thing to take away is that they are participating. And, you know, it might not be the perfect entry or the winning work now, but a lot of these countries are starting, you know, to really understand how to do great work, and it's completely inspiring to me, and I think to everybody on the jury. So that's probably our best thing. We deliberated a lot in the room and debated, and like every jury, there's some arguments. But when you have this many countries from different regions, it's important to do that, because there's a lot of entries that there's so much nuance and cultural nuance, you really need to understand it. So to have this kind of, you know, varied jury from around the world in different regions, it's really important that you take the time to deliberate. And we did, and to some, maybe we deliberated too much over things, but there's no doubt that we spent a lot of time, you know, scrutinizing the work and making sure, you know, it delivered on some of these cultural nuances. That being said, the things I think we chose, you know, didn't necessarily, you know, rely on that, and they were just ideas that worked across the world. You know, the funny thing about when we talk about titanium, and every year the jury gets asked, well, how do you define titanium? You know, and it's easy to say it's an idea that stops the world in its tracks, or it takes the industry forward. And maybe we need to define it a little more, because I think that becomes something that no one can explain a year later. I think it could be anything. You know, it can be a product, it could be a gesture by a client that's incredibly brave, it could be a piece of technology, it could be something else. You know, so I think at the end of the day, we want to reward things that maybe don't have a place, but not exclude things that have been, you know, an amazing piece of communication also. So I think, you know, in the end, we curated a pretty good show for y'all, and I hope you like it. So we'll talk about integrated first. And while there was a lot of great work and a couple really top pieces, you know, the jury decided not to award a Grand Prix this year, and that was at the discretion of all of us and the choice of all of us. So we feel pretty good about that decision, and I think that the two golds that won are exceptional, and we did not choose a Grand Prix. For titanium, as I said before, it was unbelievable the amount of ideas, and whether it's a little bit of a dumping ground for ideas that have no place or people don't know exactly if they should enter it. I think we can talk about that forever. It doesn't matter. In the end, we'll pick the best pieces, and I think we did. We have one Grand Prix, and I think it was a fairly unanimous decision, and that is Nike Fuel Band. And for me, it was, when Nike Plus was introduced, it was sort of a revolution for runners. You know, and I'm not a runner, and there's probably people here on stage that are not necessarily runners. So I think what happened was Nike and its agency, RGA, I think they learned a lot from Nike Plus. And with Nike Fuel Band, you were able to take the thing that was really for runners and make it a mass product. And that's an incredible thing here where so much of fitness is such an important thing around the world. And to be able to take the thing, to be able to take something that was made for runners and now make it a mass thing on such a huge scale was, to us, at the Grand Prix. And I think what happens also when you have an agency and a client working so closely together, but the result is an incredible product, but an incredible design, and the communication around it was incredible also. The whole thing is just perfect. So let's take a look at it.
Nike's mission has always been to bring inspiration and innovation to every athlete in the world. They've done this in the past by making great products and then telling people about them. 7 years ago, with the launch of Nike Plus, they started a journey that has taken them from being a company that makes shoes and apparel to a products and services company. Nike Plus has grown to 6 million active members using it on average 3 times a week. But now it's about to get even bigger. This year, with the launch of Nike Plus Fuel Band, a metric that measures all activity called Nike Fuel, ties all these products and services together into a connected ecosystem. Like calories, Nike Fuel is a way to gauge your daily activity. But unlike calories, which people burn at different rates depending upon body type, Nike Fuel is the only standard that lets you compare yourself with anyone else, no matter who they are or what they're doing. Walk, run, dance, skateboard, play basketball, it all counts. Nike Fuel Band is the device you wear that tracks everything you do. One button lets you check your fuel, calories, steps, and time. The LED lights change from red to yellow, and when you hit your goal, green.
We've built it to be a motivational game. Getting to your goal every day is the core part of the experience.
When you consistently hit your goal, Fuelie helps you celebrate.
The social part is actually what keeps it really sticky. It's kind of that competition that keeps you coming back. Anyone who you're friends with on Facebook will be in your leaderboard.
When you buy a Fuel Band, you automatically become part of the Nike Plus community, which includes Nike Plus running, training, and basketball. Now the Nike Plus platform is set to grow exponentially with more members who are active every day.
And when it came time to launch the product, we came up with one word that summarized it all: counts. Can you count, suckers?
Everything you do counts. That became the basis for the campaign introducing Nike Fuel to the world. Consumer demand was so high, pre-orders sold out within minutes.
What I hope we can see in the metrics is that people have become more active through wearing their Fuel Band. That for me would be the ultimate measure of our success.
Fuel Band is transforming how we measure performance, and it represents a new mission for Nike as an organization, creating products and services that become a part of people's everyday lives, with motivation built in. It's a commitment we've seen evolve over 2 years of collaborating with Nike on the Fuel experience. From the fuel metric itself, to the mobile and platform integration, to social engagements, and ultimately the launch of the fuel band. This puts Nike in an exclusive family of fast-growing companies that have created functionally integrated systems.
Today's announcement is exciting. I mean, anything to get people moving, me being able to compare my scores with everybody else is going to be cool.
Nike has this saying, if you have a body, you are an athlete, and now this is finally coming true.
So I think we'll open up to questions.
Hi, I'm from Exchange for Media in India. I just wanted to understand if there was any other entry that was competing very closely for the Grand Prix that you may have discussed before awarding this one. And the second question is if any of the jury members, maybe Ignalo Dias, could speak on media as a category. Guardian has got an award. Google has once again got an award. So media as a category and the kind of work that this category is doing.
Someone want to take the question? First, we can answer the second one first. And then
I think we're increasingly moving to what I would term as a width society rather than depth society around the world. It's more is probably taking prevalence over what is better. And it's therefore imperative that media as a category will be the harbingers of that new era, and therefore there will be far larger number of media vehicles out there, and as a result probably a larger amount of communication platforms for media that will move from the conventional to the unconventional, and I think Guardian is a great example of that. So from whatever I've seen, media has been a very strong category this year, and probably that reflects what's happening in society outside.
First question. There's 4 other titaniums, and I'm not sure if the most has ever been awarded, but 4 I think is a pretty small amount, but they're all exceptional. But I have to say we're close versus whether it was another one that was Grand Prix. There were so many more that were close to being titanium. That's probably the bigger story. There was at least 10 wonderful things from around the world that were so close. But I think the right one was chosen. It's such a massive idea. I think we tend to consider ourselves just advertising people, and when agencies can partner with brands like a Nike, and RJ, that special relationship, you really see our value becoming much more. But, if anybody else wants to comment on some of the other.
Yeah, I think it's important to remember that titanium doesn't have a color.
Right.
So anything that's a titanium is a really close contender for Grand Prix, unlike the conventional category where it's got to be a gold before.
Okay.
Rob, would you like to comment on some of the other?
Yeah, well, I think one thing that Rob said that I would amplify is that there was an inordinate amount of debatable contenders for this award. And I think that speaks to where we are as an industry, that you have a lot of brilliant people in this industry now who are thinking about it in all kinds of different ways. And I think what's really powerful for me when I was experiencing this is that you're just going to watch this steady climb of entries in titanium, not because, oh, hey, I could win one, but because this is a real reflection of the kind of brain power that's happening in the world. People are really trying to solve a lot of problems, not just product problems, but I think we were all struck by the amount of ideas about promoting things like peace. I mean, that's a pretty good product. And people living above and beyond their borders, living above and beyond their place of origin to try to solve real human problems. And to me, that's the real power of this show versus any other show in the world.
I want to make a comment about this that is in a way talking about the two things, your media question. I mean, if we define media the way we are going to reach people, and the way we are going to touch people, I think that you have here an amazing example that is the Colombian one. It's important to understand that the only way to reach that guys in the middle of the jungle is using the rivers. There's no other way. No smartphones, no technology, there's nothing than this. I think it's important for us to remember, because this is the truly international festival, that out there are a lot of people that they are not using technology. They don't even have access to technology. And for us to find these examples and put these examples at the same level of the big companies that really have resources to reach people, it's part of our mission.
Yeah, and there were a couple other titaniums, the Tupac, virtual Tupac. We debated that a lot. It's easy to say it's a hologram, but the music industry is dying, and here some inventive people took something and really crafted it. When you watched it, it was the biggest thing potentially of the decade for the music industry. And when you watch the craft of it, it's incredible. So I think rewarding some of that is important. But reinventing how the music industry might reintroduce old artists, a new platform. So it was important to recognize. I mean, Titanium is also about reinvention, and this was a potential path forward in showing what is possible. So we thought it was very important to mention that. And then maybe Ted, maybe can speak to the craft entry, because that's a fairly unique one in this category. Ted?
Which entry?
The craft entry.
Yeah, it's just really nice to see when a brand takes a risk and sticks by it and is incredibly brave. I think it's a fantastic thing for a company like Kraft, which used to be considered conservative, but now, I'm lucky enough to work with them, and I love them, and they can use their muscle, their size and their muscle and their reach to do something interesting and something brave, and then commit to it and stick with it. It's inspiring.
I think we should add, though, on this commitment thing, this is really important. One thing that was amazing about this craft idea was that the talent they chose, this guy Ted Williams, first of all, it was amazing that they took a homeless guy who had a gift, and they gave him the power to use that gift. That was amazing. But then the guy falls off the wagon, and the guy does something that could really damage Kraft as a company. And I think 9 out of 10 companies, we're done, goodbye, let's move on, get somebody who's really shiny and happy to make this all go away. And Kraft stuck with this guy. They stuck, think about this, a very conservative company sticks with a real negative bit of news, rides it out, and then comes out even stronger. And that kind of bravery, they're getting rewarded for that. We need more brands to be as brave as Kraft.
Next question.
Hi, Sonia from South Africa. I'm Egypt. Can you actually define titanium for us?
I did before, but maybe someone else can try. Fred?
Good question. We debated that longer than the case is, probably. Well, what we thought that could be the right answer is that it is work that is not purely advertising. It's communication in the best sense that makes somehow a game changer, changing things how we communicate in society, changing ways of communicating whatever you do. So if you look at the titanium, you would probably say, why is this a titanium? And if you look at it from the side of, is it a game changer? Did we do something in society that is really changing the game? And you would find out why these are on the, apart from Nike Fuel Band. But all the others, they have really chosen a way to communicate, to solve problems of society rather than problems of economy. So that's what we figured out could be the titanium. And if I missed something,
I think it's going to be. I think it's going to be the debate forever. I think the show is set up that you can enter a lot of things in multiple categories. And I think it's important. I think that's fine and it works. But you can't stop something from awarding. Something wins. Nike Fuel Band is won a Grand Prix in cyber, but I think it's probably even more relevant as titanium. So we didn't want to hurt a brand because it's won other places. So it's I think it's going to be debate. I don't know if anybody else wants to take a shot at answering the titanium question.
I think the beauty about titanium is that You can only define it after that year's titanium is given. And then it gets redefined next year. I think that's the best part about titanium. So now everybody will probably know what a titanium this year is, but next year it will be defined again after the show is over.
Can I just ask Philip, where did the name White Titanium, how did that come about?
It was suggested by Dan White. So back in the day, he looked at some work that was entered into Cannes one year, and it was uncategorizable. And he came to us and said, "You need a new category." And we said, "Great, what should we call it?" And he said, "How about titanium?"
Stan Biden, so I'm not going to question that.
We decided to agree with it.
It'll be
I think we had a question down the back.
Yes, my name is Finn, Danish journalist. I just would like to know, Nike Fuel Band is a titanium Grand Prix. Why isn't it an integrated Grand Prix?
It's gold.
Yeah, but couldn't it have been Grand Prix also?
I think, yeah, I'm sure you did, but I think we all agreed as a titanium, it was a Grand Prix level. And for integrated, it was great, and gold is pretty awesome. But we just didn't feel the entire case was as good as the idea in the end. So I don't know if anybody wants to answer that question. Anybody? Laura?
We debated and discussed this an awful lot, and the fusion of the product and the innovativeness around the product with the communication strategy and plan raised everything up to an unbelievably high level, which is why we felt extraordinarily comfortable and really inspired to give it a Titanium Grand Prix. And that's what I think the Titanium is ultimately about. It's the entire ecosystem, it's the entire end-to-end work that you look at. A great idea, a great product, a great communication strategy that enables that product. So we felt very comfortable with that, and I think absolutely everyone's comfortable, and we think it was the right decision.
Yeah, and I also think that part of it is the Prudential campaign was so strong that it was tough to not award that one the Grand Prix either. So in the end, we thought they were pretty equal as integrated campaigns, doing different things in different channels and different and Prudential maybe slightly more traditional in the integrated sense. But it was such a strong campaign that we thought either one should outdo the other, and we decided 2 golds was the way to do it versus 2 Grand Prix, which it probably could have been. But the equality of the 2 is probably the main reason that there is no Grand Prix. But Fred had a question. Comment.
Exactly what I wanted to say.
Oh, I just stole Fred's bit.
Another question?
I just wanted to ask about integrated and what it would take to win a Grand Prix in integrated, given that almost every campaign is now integrated. Would it have to be more transmedia? Like, what would take it over the top, given that they're all excellent campaigns to begin with?
No, we talk a lot about this, of course, as you said, most of the ideas now are really hitting most of the channels. It's not about the amount of channels that you are using. The rule is at least three channels, And I think that what we were trying to look is an idea that is really hitting channels, in a different way. The other thing I think is an idea that can integrate technology with emotion. It's another way to see integrated. We have seen in the previous past a lot of ideas that were celebrating a new technology, and that's fantastic. But what about touching the people in a different way? What about having a much more deeper meaning in the life of people through technology? And we talk a lot about this. There's so many ways, different ways to see integrative now, and we want to really find that examples from now on.
And on top of that, the craft side of every piece. I think we were looking for all the time. If the whole part of the work were in the same level, well done in print, well done in TV, so we're very aware of that.
And the last and most important one for us was, did this piece of work do a lot of work in engaging people? So formal integration through the channels, hitting as much channels as possible, is not the game anymore. Does it build image? Yes, but how can we go further and engage people into the process? As the medium takes people, in the best sense of the medium, to get people inside the communication process and build more than just brand image, but brand relationship in the best sense. So that was the last and ultimate goal we were looking for.
Next question. Gentleman in the front.
Fernando, what do you think about that the only Hispanic entry of Colombia was the only Hispanic entry with the bronze of Mexico in titanium?
Pretty good. I think there's so many different ways to answer the question. I think at the end, I think probably beyond the patriotic vote and beyond all these sort of things, probably this is the only place that you can really have room to explain the local nuances in a different way. I mean, the world, it is the way it is. We are seeing that people are probably eating more sushi than burgers in so many countries now. And I think that, and you know that I was really one of the ones that were talking about this more than a decade ago. That we don't have a truly globalization. We have an Anglo-Americanization of the world, and this is something that we need to change. Because globalization is going to be much more rich if we really include different aspects of the life around the world. So for me, I'm more than happy that could be, it's Colombia, could be any other country from any other part of the world. And I'm more than happy to see that ideas that are coming from everywhere now are judged with a much more time to understand the local nuances. The truth is that it is what it is. The culture in English is the one that I'm talking in English. Y yo no hablo inglés. No, a mí mi mamá no me enseñó en inglés a decir nada. My language is Spanish. I'm translating what I'm feeling. It is what it is. I hope that someday more people that are just only English speakers could speak in more than this language.
Yeah, I'll reiterate the point. Of the 19 Lions awarded, it's from 12 different countries. That's the thing we should be celebrating. And I think that between the shortlist and things that were close to the shortlist, so many different countries, and certainly Spanish-speaking countries, we're part of it.
Can I say something wrong?
Yeah, Ted.
I hope I phrase this the right way. If anybody is, this conversation is interesting, but I think it's a little bit outdated. If anybody's looking at the country even remotely as importantly as the idea, then I think that's a little skewered. It's got to be the idea, and the idea stands out way before I even notice what country it's from. A lot of times you can tell from the case study or the thing, oh, okay, I guess I can figure out what country that is. But if we're talking about the country even remotely being as important as the idea, that shouldn't be the case. The ideas are powerful and they're coming from everywhere, but that's the only important thing.
Next question.
Got one at the back, sorry.
Sorry. I'm Suzanne from the Netherlands. Could you comment on the Dutch winner on the list, the silver for I Have Already Died?
Someone want to take this? Worry? ALS? So, I'll talk about it, and I think people can jump in. It's an amazing, campaign. Pure and simple. The fact that so much thought went into it years in advance, and you're doing something powerful like that, it is what it is. I mean, it's not much to comment other than it's spectacular, powerful. I've seen it in many shows. I've judged a couple other shows, and I've seen it, and I remember seeing it for the first time, and just couldn't believe that, someone had thought that far in advance, and the amount of effort you had to do. Nike Fuel Band took at least 2 years to make, of agency and brand working together side by side. This is a similar case of a campaign that didn't take 2 years, doesn't last for 2 years, but it took 2 years literally to make, or 3 years. So I think that was the most impressive part. If anybody wants to add on that.
Yeah, I could probably make one comment on this idea, because to me this is the ultimate product demonstration. The person who is speaking to you in this campaign is already passed away to remind you to give to this charity to keep people from dying. So I think that cleverness and that way to do a classic advertising tool, but in such a fresh and engaging way, I think it's wise, done extremely well here.
Fred has a comment.
And we are not judging machines. We are just like any other human beings. And when we saw this campaign, we just felt emotionally touched to an extent that don't think, just let your heart speak. And that's why it went through without discussions.
Yeah, in a world where we're celebrating a lot of the technology, you do remember, and I think the Prudential campaign is another one that emotionally hits you and just reminded you that what we do, our value is, yes, coming up with ideas, and whether it's new technologies, but I think we all love doing things that touch people in a way that maybe other people can't do. So that makes us all feel pretty good.
And one more thing that we talked about during the judging of this campaign was the elegance that they use. It's a very delicate subject. It could be done in a very wrong way, and it wasn't. It was very beautiful and touching, so we got struck with it.
Hello. What do you think about the Italian campaign for down people integration? And which was the feature that made you choose it?
I'm sure a lot of people want to comment. It's one of my favorite things. I saw it the other night at the promo or the direct show, and I was blown away that so many brands got on board with it, and it did. It's really incredible. I mean, I think it's the first time in 26 years that there was a standing ovation. Am I making that up, Phil? I mean, that's a standing ovation at Cannes. Fairly incredible. So, anybody else want to comment on that? Next question.
One down the back.
I'm Marcelo from Brazil. You said that we had 19 brands from 12 countries, but almost 50% of the brands are to USA. Do you think?
Sorry, it's probably better than most years.
The American advertising thinks more integrated?
Can I answer that?
Yes, please.
No, I don't think so. The thing is, first of all, the amount of it, of course, so it's mathematical. First thing. Second thing is the quality of the work, quality of the idea, and the time that you have to dedicate of your idea. And I'm talking about Brazil now. I'm talking about the way we are working nowadays. So if you have a great idea, you have, especially in titanium, you have to dedicate. It's like R&D department of a company. You have to dedicate people, money, and time to really develop the idea. And we are not doing that if you're talking about Brazil. Some countries, some markets are really doing that. So I don't think they did Nike Fuel Band in 3 months. I don't think so. I don't think that the campaign that we just talked about Down syndrome was made in 3 weeks, as we are doing in Brazil. So if you want to really do a good job, I think you have to change some rules in our market. I don't know the rest of the world. So the only thing is that almost 50% were from the US, because almost 50% of the ideas were very good.
Can I say something about it? And we need to understand that exactly the same thing is happening in other industries. Look what happened at the Oscars, when the artist crew went on stage to pick the Oscar. You know, it wasn't for a foreign film. It wasn't for the main industry. And all these guys there barely speaking in English. You know, you remember that moment. And there are two interesting things in that picture. The first one is that the country, that the world is prepared to really understand ideas from so many different places. First thing. Second thing is, there is a double job that the countries that are not English speaking needs to do. That is, create something in your own language that is going to touch the people in your market, and then enter that work here in English. You know, and it's a kind of a double job, you know. So again, I think that two ways to see this, half empty, half full. I think that the glass is really half full, and it's going to be full, you know, because I do believe that it's going to be a much more rich culture, the one that we are going to have in the coming years.
If I could speak a little bit about time question. I think to be integrated doesn't mean the best work takes the most time. You've got an example here like Nike, where it was a fusion of product and communication strategy, and that does take a couple years to pull together. But really in integrated, the power of the idea is the most important thing of all. And the power of that idea applied simply to all the channels that are chosen is absolutely critical. The tendency is sometimes to apply the idea with a lot of complexity, and that work tends to, I think, not be as compelling as a story well told, an idea well told. But we also have on Titanium a winner in craft that was actually pulled together in less than a week in terms of Ted Williams as a spokesperson and putting the entire program together. So that's a great example of, it didn't take 2 years, it didn't take a lot of time. It was a great idea, well executed, quickly executed by a client and an agency working together to be brave. So I don't think time is really the determiner here. It's the great idea told simply. And when a great idea is a great idea, it can work extremely fast. It doesn't have to take a long time to pull it together.
Great one.
Your question is very interesting because I'm coming from a real tiny market, Austria. We don't even have kangaroos there. So what we do is just like in Brazil, we have to deliver. An idea you can have like that in a second, and that can probably win the Grand Prix in any category, but not in integrated. So I disagree a little bit with Laura. When you have an idea, it also is important that you execute it and then push it through the channels. However, and for that you need quite some money and budget, because if the outside world does not discover it, because you don't have the power of media, because you don't have the money to do it, then the idea will not show up as a great idea and will not get rewarded here. So that's the reason why the bigger the countries in integrated, they have more chances to be seen on their market, on their relevant market, and also in Cannes.
Another question down the end. Yep. Here is Felipe from a Mensagem in Brazil. A question to Morihiro. I would like you to comment the Japanese Titanium.